Hey guys, welcome back to my studio. As you can see, I have something very different up on the easel. I needed to take a break from grief and letting go. So I took the painting of my daughter down for a little bit, and I've put this piece back up that I started on maybe 6 months ago. I took a trip to Europe with Journey Arts Collective, which is a local group of artists, and we journeyed through Europe last October, and a lot of things are still coming out creatively from that trip. This is one of them. I began this as soon as I got home, and I put it down for a little bit, and I'm picking it back up now. What it is, I don't know if you remember earlier on in an earlier episode, I expressed a desire to let you in on some of my creative processes, as well as wanting to hear from you and your creative processes. So I wanted to let you in on some things that I'm doing right now. I do copper trees on canvas, if you didn't know. A dear friend of mine, Melissa Seacrest, if you're out there, hello Melissa, I haven't seen her in a while, but she gifted me with some copper in probably about 2010, 2011. She did that, and I had another dear friend, my best friend Renee, who's also a spiritual director. She had a desire to put a tree in her living room, and so I thought, hey, I've got all this copper, I'm gonna make my friend a tree. And it started from that. It was just an elm tree, and then I was commissioned to do a ginkgo tree, and I've done a couple weeping willows because I love those trees. And when I went to Europe, I found myself in the middle of some olive groves, and they're just beautiful trees. And I noticed that they have this way that they grow, like they're separate, but they might have like 3 different tree trunks, and they're like undulating the same way, and they follow each other, but they look separate. And so I actually had a conversation with the owner of the vineyard and the olive grove. Like, how do the trees grow that way? Are they separate? Are they together? And he actually said they used to be one tree. And he was telling me the story about their property, that in 1984, they had just purchased the property, and in 1984, they had a horrible frost. It went below 20 degrees Celsius one year, and it killed the whole crop. And what happened was all the trees that were flourishing and growing, they all died, but their roots stayed together, and it took it a little while for them to come. But it was interesting because what used to be one tree sort of shot up from the ruins of that frost, and so they would create 2 or 3 different trees out of this one ruin, that the roots were still there. And so these 3 trees would just kind of like grow together, and they dance together, and it was just so beautiful. And they were so ripe, they had so many leaves, they were so heavy with fruit when I was there, and that spoke so much to me, and I wanted to do an olive tree next. So that's what this is, and I put it aside for a little while, and I felt like I needed to come back to it. And my process, so I build a frame first, and then I stretch canvas on it. This is the only time I ever use canvas. I don't paint on canvas. I build wood panels because I like the way that the wood is more of a rigid ground, so it doesn't have any give when you apply the paintbrush. So I prefer to paint on wood, but the only time I use canvas is when I sew, and I do these copper trees. So I build the frame, I stretch the canvas, and then I usually apply a collage of paper. Sometimes it'll be like old hymnal pages, old book pages. In this particular case, I found an old art history textbook, and I went to the Italian Renaissance chapters and found these beautiful pages. And so I took those pages, ooh, this is wet. I took those pages and applied that first layer, and I just collaged the pages, the ones that spoke to me. Some of these pages are very places that I've been to, some of the art I've actually seen in person. So it really was important for me to pick out those spaces, those sites that were really important to me when I was there. So that's the first layer. And then I took oil paint and just sort of washed it in different places. And then I sanded it down, so it's additive and subtractive. So I'll apply a layer of oil paint, and then I'll sand it down, and then I'll go back and apply some more oils. And then what I do is I tear the copper strips, and then I sew them onto the canvas. I use, this is my thread. It is waxed linen thread, and this seems to work really well with the copper. So I sew the copper on, and then I treat it with oil. You can kind of see this textural, it's darker than the copper. So I treated that with some oil paint. And then I came back in and did some more paint. As you can see, this is wet. I applied some more paint. And then this is wire. I use pretty thick gauge wire for the branches. And then if you can see this, this is my copper sheet that I'm working with, and I've treated this copper. So I went online and looked for how to patina copper, and these are my leaves. So I'll cut these leaves out because I like the patina for the leaves. So these are my leaves that I've cut. So I spent hours just like cutting little leaves. And then I've sewn the wire on, and now I'm in the middle of sewing the copper trees or leaves on. So if you can see this, yeah, so I'm taking these leaf by leaf and just sewing them where I feel like they need to go to look like specifically an olive tree. So most of the time I'm kind of going back and forth and from front to back, and yeah. So I'll take I'm gonna put some more branches on here. There's only 1, 2, 3 branches, and the way olive branches are, they're so beautiful. They just kind of sway. They're almost like mini weeping willows, which I love. So I'm going to put some more branches on. I'm going to sew a bunch of leaves on. And those are my copper trees. Yeah. So a couple things I wanted you to know about. One is I love Europe so much, and all of the things that I did there and saw there. I am putting together a pilgrimage for those of you who want to join me to return to Europe. We are going to Italy and we're going to Paris. Those are the 2 sites that I know for sure. If you're interested, please go to flyforward.org and click on the news tab. That will give you some information. I'm having a meeting a week from tomorrow night, Sunday night, August 27th, at my house. And if you want to just come hear more about the trip, it will be happening in the fall of 2018, so it's over a year away. You've got time to plan for it. But we're just going to meet a week from Sunday night at my house here at 7 p.m., Sunday night the 27th, to discuss some things that you can start beginning to plan for and think about if you want to join me. It's going to be an artistic, spiritual, creative retreat. I would love to have you join me. And also, if you want a copper tree to hang in your house, please contact me as well. Go to flyforward.org, go to the contact page, and just fill out that email form and say you're interested in a copper tree. I do all kinds of copper trees. I can custom make what paper you want on the background, what colors, what kind of tree. I love doing these copper trees, and I would love to do one for you. We can do any size. So definitely contact me, all right? See you next time.